Welcome to this United Progressive Party press conference. Over the past 8 years, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, led by Prime Minister Gaston Brown, have administered the affairs of this country. During that time, the LP have spent over $11 billion. They have received record revenue over and above any administration to date. Yet, we have seen very little improvement in the quality of life for the average Antiguan and Barbudans. Ask yourself, are we healthier today? Are we safer today? Are we more prosperous today? Not just for a few, but I'm speaking of the majority of Antiguans and Barbudans. Are we happier today? From this $11 billion in spending, what real and significant impact have it caused on the quality of life for Antiguans and Barbudans? Teachers are still begging for an increase. Nurses, police officers, custom officers, air traffic controllers, and by extension, the entire public service have been swallowed up by rising cost of living and stagnant wages and salaries. Yet, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party and Prime Minister Gaston Brown boast of success. Despite the highest level of spending by the ALP administration, poverty and deprivation have increased. Cost of living continues to soar. Kitchen cupboards are emptier. Hopelessness and uncertainty have taken over many communities. A change is needed on the horizon, and a change will be coming. Under a United Progressive Party, we will inspire hope in our people and create opportunities for a better tomorrow. There's so much underperformance and uncertainty in our major industries, tourism and agriculture. This is compounded by lack of investment, poor public utility, and crumbling infrastructure. These persistent challenges will require a multi-pronged strategy and unity of purpose to improve the quality of life for Antiguans and Barbudans. The United Progressive Party will help to restore lost jobs. Just imagine, in the pandemic, over 1,000 small businesses closed their doors. We will protect households from the rising prices of food, fuel, and other essential commodities using prudent economic policies. We must accelerate economic recovery through tourism diversification with stronger linkages to key sectors such as agriculture, creative industries, and ICTs. The United Progressive Party is the right choice. It gives me great pleasure to welcome, to say a few words to you, and after which we'll hear some questions and answer some questions from you. The political leader and the next Prime Minister, the Honorable Harold Lovell.
Good morning to all. We are here to look at the current crisis in this country and to place on the table recommendations for relief, recovery, and shared prosperity. We're here to demonstrate that the United Progressive Party is ready to move the country forward by delivering relief, recovery, and shared prosperity. We say that where there is a you, there is a way. So let us work together to fix the jobs, the water, and the cost of living. With the Labour Party, we've seen big ideas, big lies, but very little by way of accomplishments. So as we approach the close of this year, it is clear that the economy of Antigua and Barbuda needs a stimulus, and the people of this nation need relief. We recall that on Sunday, the 9th of October, 2022, the Prime Minister, in an interview, stated that he would receive within 30 to 60 days, $25 million from the Caribbean Development Bank. He also stated that in October, a $200 million bond would be transferred and funds would flow from that bond by the end of October. He went on to say that within a few weeks, therefore, from the 9th of October, US $160 million together with US $25 million would be available to the nation of Antigua and Barbuda. In light of the promises made by the Prime Minister, the United Progressive Party calls upon the government to immediately introduce the following measures, which will provide that economic stimulus and which will bring relief to families in Antigua and Barbuda. I start first with the question of the ABST relief. The Cabinet has announced that the annual ABST reduction will take place on the weekend of Friday, December 16th to Sunday, December 18th of 2022, when the tax rate will be reduced from 15% to 5%. In light of the current dire and extreme circumstances, we, the United Progressive Party, call on the government to extend the reduction period from 1 weekend to 4 consecutive weekends. This will provide a much-needed stimulus for the economy, and it will result in increased spending and circulation of money during this very difficult economic period. The weekends will then include December 16th to 18th, December 23rd to 25th, December 30th to January 1st, and January 6th to 8th, 2023. Second measure. The price of crude oil on the world market has declined to levels well below the price at the time when the war in Ukraine started. Today, the price on the world market is $73.25 per barrel. It was $125 at the outbreak of the war. So let us see that difference. Today it is $73.25 for a barrel of crude on the world market. At the time of the outbreak of the war, the prices shot up to $125, which led to a spike in the price at the pump. The current price of gasoline at the pump is $15.54, and the price of diesel is $16.79 per gallon. Whereas immediately before the start of the war, the price of gasoline at the pump was $12.50, and the price of diesel was $12.20, and the price of crude was $97 per barrel on the world market. We call on the government to reduce the price of gasoline by $3.04 at least per gallon to the pre-war level of no more than $12.50. And further, we call on the government to reduce the price of diesel by at least $4.59 to the pre-war level of $12.20 at least. We believe that this is very important given the inflationary impact of fuel prices. It is our view that the failure of this administration to provide any relief or any stimulus to the people of this nation, that at a time when we are witnessing low prices of crude on the world market, it cannot be fair for the government to continue to take in excessive amounts of consumption tax. We are aware that this government has collected more in consumption tax than any previous administration. We call on the government, therefore, to have a heart and to give a break to the people of this country by immediately reducing the price of gasoline at the pump immediately, and also to reduce the price of diesel at the pump in order to provide an economic stimulus and to provide relief to the people of this country. The government workers, thirdly, have been crying out since 2018 for a salary increase and for back pay which is due to them. We challenge the government, the Labour Party government, to match the 17% increase given under the UPP administration during our time in office. And we roundly condemn the paltry offer of a total of 7% offered by the government to public servants. This represents a mere 2% on the interim increase of 5% which was granted in 2018. We are of the view that a government which has collected the sums collected by this administration compared to what the United Progressive Party collected, we were able to grant a total increase over our two terms, of 17%. And this administration has placed on the table for public servants to consider a total of 7%, 5% which was granted in 2018, and 2% which they are now offering. We also call on the Prime Minister to respect the negotiating process. The negotiating team has officially offered 2% on the 5%. They said it would be 1% for 2019 and 1% for 2020. However, on his radio program, the Prime Minister said that the offer was an additional 4%. This has never been communicated to the unions. At 4%, however, if that were to be granted and agreed upon, there are public servants who will not get even an extra $100 per month. In fact, a junior clerk at an additional 4%, they would get about $60 more per month on their salary. A permanent secretary who occupies the highest rung on the ladder would get an additional $329 per month on their salary. We are of the view that our public servants deserve better, and a UPP administration calls on the government to give to the unions a realistic offer that can be seriously discussed, given the impact of inflation, the deterioration in their standards of living and quality of life. We say that what has been offered by this administration is certainly not enough. If, as the Prime Minister states, however, that the salary increase has been delayed due to a protracted negotiating process, we call on the government to immediately pay the back pay which is due and which is not dependent on the negotiating process. We also note, number 4, that vendors and service providers have been owed for a long period, in some cases 7 and 8 years. We feel that this has caused great harm and damage to the many businesses in Antigua and Barbuda, both large and small. And we therefore call on the government to immediately pay at least 50% of what is owed to the business sector. This will allow the business people, the vendors, the service providers, to be able to meet their creditors, to be able to meet their obligations, and to be in a position to provide a platform for real economic growth in this country. Number 5, we remember the LIAT and the CAS workers who continue to suffer with no relief in sight. We therefore call on the government immediately to provide at least 25% of the severance which is owed, and to have this paid in advance as a gesture of goodwill and good faith. Number 6, we look at the situation regarding the failed water promises by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has failed to deliver adequate water to the people despite spending millions and promising the world, while missing every deadline that he has imposed for water delivery. He has now resorted to blaming APOA staff to distract from his failed leadership. Gaston Brown has gone so low as to accuse the APOA staff of sabotaging water delivery by shutting off valves. He is clearly out of his realm in addressing the water issue and owes the hard-working staff at APOA an apology. We are therefore forced to add the lack of water to the list of ABLP failures. The nation is howling in protest from one corner of the country to the next. More than 8 years into the ABLP administration, the water crisis has become so severe in certain areas that the only source of daily water is through delivery trucks. The ABLP promised that reverse osmosis plants would increase the water supply and solve the water problem. The situation has not improved despite various pledges and commitments from the Prime Minister. The ABLP government continues to give a litany of excuses. We were told that the problem would be solved by September of this year. This was the date that was given for the water problem to be resolved. The United Progressive Party, we recognize that a permanent fix for the challenges faced will not be accomplished overnight. We understand that the Antigua Public Utilities Authority, despite their best efforts, will not be able to fix this problem in the immediate to short term. And the United Progressive Party, we pledge to put the necessary plans, policies, programs in place, and the personnel to have this problem fixed in a comprehensive way once and for all. However, whilst we work towards finding the long-term solutions, we believe that other measures should be taken to ameliorate the challenges of storage faced by many low-income families, small farmers, and small businesses. This problem of storage we intend to address in the following way. And a UPP administration, we will, and we call upon this government to immediately introduce what we refer to as the water program, which is the water tank and Equipment Relief Program, the water program. Under this program, we say, for a period of 12 months, the UPP will remove all taxes related to the importation of water storage tanks, water pumps, pressure tanks, electrical and plumbing fixtures, and all other supplies and equipment necessary in order for persons to be able to get water. We are aware that currently many persons have to face the expense of installing a pump, a pressure tank, as well as other fixtures in order to have running water for their families. It is only right, therefore, that in light of the increased burden placed on the backs of the people of this nation, that a government should have enough empathy for the people to waive all taxes related to the importation of water tanks, equipment, other fixtures and fittings. And a UPP administration, once elected, we will do this. But in the meantime, we call on the Gaston Brown administration immediately to remove all taxes on the importation of the items mentioned. We go further to say that for a period of 12 months, the UPP will remove these taxes, which I mentioned, But over a period of 2 years, the UPP will make a minimum of $5 million available to the Antigua and Barbuda Development Bank. And these funds will be used specifically on low-interest loans in order to allow persons to be able to buy the necessary pumps and tanks and other plumbing and electrical fixtures and fittings to make their lives bearable. And so we want to reemphasize what we propose to do. We propose for a period of 12 months, it's an interim measure, to remove all taxes for the importation of water products. And over 2 years, we will make available $5 million, which will be utilized for low-interest loans in order to help low-income families in particular. Finally, we turn to the question of reducing the cost of living by removing and reducing duties at the port. And so I want to say that we understand that inflation has eroded the purchasing power of our people. And it has created problems for those who sell food as well, because they have been forced to increase their prices in order to make a small profit in order to stay in business. We therefore call on this government immediately in relation to the following goods to take the following measures. On lingfish, which carries a duty of 10%, we will remove the duty on lingfish, and we call on this government to do the same. On corned beef, which carries a duty of 5%, we say remove the duty. Tuna, 5%, remove the duty. Sardines, 5%, remove the duties. Salt beef, 5%, remove the duties. Pig mouth, 5%, remove the duties. Dry cereals, including corn flakes, raisin bran, and other forms of dry cereal, which carry a duty of 20%, we say remove the duties. Oats, carrying a duty of 5%, remove the duties. Cream of wheat of 5%, remove the duty. All flour products carrying 25% duty, remove the duty. Sugar at 40%, we reduce that by half and say 20%. Raisins at 40%, reduced by half to 20%. Cooking oil at 40%, remove the duty. Soy and almond milk at 20%, remove the duty. Pasta at 20%, reduced by half to 10%. Chunks at 20%, remove the duty. Tofu at 20%, remove the duty. And ham at 10%, remove the duty. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Progressive Party is committed. We are dedicated to bringing to the people of this nation relief. We are dedicated and committed to ensuring the recovery of this nation. And we have as our people first mantra, central in our minds, shared prosperity. And so I just want to end by thanking you for listening as we go back to our host for this morning's program, Mr. Winston Henry. I will be available to answer any questions that you may have so that we can be clear in terms of the recommendations being put forward by the United Progressive Party at this very critical time in our country's history. We say relief, recovery, and shared prosperity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Political Leader. We will open the floor for questions from the media. I already have questions coming in on the social media platform, but if anyone from the media wishes to ask a question, Political Leader is available.
So we would have seen a number of vandalism attacks on political billboards and political offices. It remains unclear who were the perpetrators, but the ADLP has been claiming that it is your party that is initiating these attacks, especially on the billboard near Premier Beverages. One of your candidates, though, has stated that this is a political ploy. Is this the official stance of the UPP? And if not, do you condemn the acts of vandalism against your opponents?
First of all, the United Progressive Party has always had, from its existence, billboards, and we have always respected the right of all political parties to put in their billboards. We do not condone vandalism of billboards. It's counterproductive. What I would say, however, is that when Mr. Alistair Thomas had his billboard vandalized, the Labour Party was silent. I'm not sure why they're speaking now. At the time when Mr. Alistair Thomas's billboard was vandalized, we said that we disagreed and condemned that action. At this time, similarly, we are totally opposed to any vandalism of any billboards. Well, if you look at the average age of our candidates, they are much lower than the average age of the Labour Party candidates. We actually have the youngest candidate who has so far, of the two major parties, indicated an interest in contesting the next general election. We have also stated the 25% that we will apply. 25% of our senators will be young people. 25%. We will ensure that at least 25% of the chairs, the chairpersons of both will be young people. So we have a very clear plan as far as that is concerned, and we have given a definitive figure with respect to the percentage of young people that we intend to guarantee places within the leadership of the country should the United Progressive Party be elected. With respect to gender, the United Progressive Party has always promoted gender equality, and we have 3 females on our slate at present, but we recognize that in the future, the UPP will make sure that we have adequate female representation, which will place us in the top tier in the Caribbean.
All right, for public record, I'm Samantha Simon with Observer Media. So another question would be, people are really concerned about what the party's plans are. So one of which is the idea around the voucher for APUA up to $3,600 that is going to be applied the first 12 months of utility bills for first-time homeowners once they're constructed under any affordable housing plan. Can you expound a bit on that program?
Yes. As we walked around this country, we listened to what people had to say. And especially with our young people, we found that one of their main concerns is how to get onto the ladder of homeownership. An obstacle that has presented itself, which makes it very difficult for many persons to get on that ladder, is finding adequate sources to finance the deposits. What we have said is that we will give several options to our young people. And one such option is what we refer to as the buyer assist option. With the buyer assist option, we will match whatever the young person, defined as between the ages of 8 and 35, can come up with. We will match it, and we will ensure that the deposit does not create an obstacle. So that's the first thing we will do in terms of assisting first-time young buyers who are acquiring their home, and we have already promised that we will assist them with the deposit. Secondly, we say that having purchased your first home, we know what it is like. You use your time and your scarce resources to acquire your curtains, your furniture, your appliances, and the other things that are necessary whenever you're moving. To get their electricity up to a value of $3,600 for the first year of ownership of their home. In our view, the assistance with the deposit and the voucher at APUA for $3,600 will go a long way in helping young people at this early stage of home ownership, where the savings can then be applied to other beneficial uses, which we know will be ever present once you move into your new home. So it's a way of providing relief, and at the same time, whilst this will have a very big impact on many young persons, in the overall scheme of things and the budget, it will be a small amount for the nation to give to our young people as we help them to empower themselves. It's also important to note the importance to the economy of promoting home ownership, because with each new home will come sales in furniture sales, will come appliance sales, will come cutting, I'm saying grass cutting, the word I'm searching for, landscaping will be a feature. So all of these things help to create wealth within the economy, help to circulate money in the economy, and help to give the economy a degree of buoyancy. So that's why we believe it's very important to promote home ownership in the fullest way and to assist persons onto the ladder so that they in turn not only empower themselves, but help to increase circulation in the economy.
We have a question from the social media. You talked about the YES program. What assistance programs do you have in place for pensioners who want to start a business?
Well, we have an overall program where we say we will assist all Antiguan and Barbudan citizens and residents who want to go into business. We've tailor-made a program for young entrepreneurs. However, we intend to re-empower and to provide adequate resources for the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority. The Investment Authority has no age limit, no restrictions. What we will do is help all Antiguans and Barbudans, regardless of their age, to get into business if that is what they want to do, to improve or increase their existing businesses if that is what they want at the time. However, we do have a special program because we understand the importance of promoting young entrepreneurship, but pensioners are not excluded, and the Investment Authority will be there to help all Antiguans and Barbudans, regardless of their age, in order that they can be productive, profitable, and successful.
So the PM has said that this is not a feasible program when it comes to sustainability. When it comes to that, how does your party intend to maintain it financially should you be elected to office?
Well, the PM has said a lot of things are not feasible. He said the school meals program was not feasible. It proved to be feasible to the point where he's using it. He said that the school uniform program was not feasible. It shows that it's still there and it is feasible. When we gave the increase in pensions from just $100, they said that's all the country could afford. We gave the pensioners $800 as a minimum. They said it couldn't be done. It's been done and it's irreversible. There are lots of things that we have put on the table, and the PM and other small-minded persons, they look at the wrong side of the equation. They look at the expenditure side, or the revenue side, I'm sorry. We look at the expenditure side. We know that by reprioritizing our expenses, by prioritizing things that benefit people, these will all pay for themselves in the long run. And so, as far as our social protection program is concerned, we've had the most ambitious, the most successful, the most impactful, and the most far-reaching social programs anywhere in the Eastern Caribbean. They said it couldn't be done, we did it, and they have maintained those very programs. So when we speak, for example, of removing the entertainment tax, that's because we want to promote Antigua and Barbuda as the entertainment capital of the Eastern Caribbean. Therefore, a tax at the front end will only serve as a deterrent. We want to encourage, and just as we bring hotels here and we give tax concessions to encourage hotel construction, it's a normal fiscal measure that is utilized when you want to promote anything in particular. So in the present circumstances that you mentioned, these are outcomes that we wish to promote. These are results that we want to see. And if we want to see those outcomes and those results, then we have to incentivize those who are involved and those who are affected in order to get the right results and the right outcomes. So we have no doubt at all in our mind. But even as I say that, let us not forget, this is the same administration that just decided to waive all fees in relation to hospital arrears, who decided to waive property taxes, and who decided to forgive a whole range of electricity arrears. So on one hand, when they do it, they say it can be done and it's sustainable. But when we do it, they try to say it's not sustainable and it can't be done.
We have another question on the social media. This one is about the prisoners and prison. What mental health facility and support will the UPP provide to prisoners and prison officers?
Well, the UPP will provide a framework for a modern prison. Not only physical structures, but also support structures. Support structures for the individual. And it means, therefore, that whilst we have put on the table that we will construct a modern prison, which is something that is necessary in this day and age, we also realize that mental health for prisoners and others is a serious issue at this time. And therefore it is our intention to provide the necessary mental health support services so that those in prison and those out of prison know that there is a government that genuinely cares, a government that recognizes that mental health stigma must be removed, and so we will have an active program of education in order to remove the stigma that is currently attached to mental health. So I can assure the person who asked that question that it will come within the whole program of modernization, and modernization will mean not only new physical facilities, but also support services that will allow every human being in this land to live a decent, productive, and good life.
All right, so in the last 5 years, both the PM and Mormon Joseph have spoken to a new prison facility for inmates, as the current one is not able to house them adequately, as well as speaking to the situation when it comes to mental health within the prisons. What plans does your administration have, should they get into office, regarding this situation, as well as not only the mental health of prisoners, but across the island, as we have seen an increase in mental health situations and crises during the COVID pandemic and after?
We will provide the support services, a modern mental health facility, and the support services to accompany the modern mental health facility.
And last question from the social media. What is the real reason why the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party have failed to deliver on water?
Well, the real reason why they have failed to deliver, I think, is twofold. One, they lack the will, and two, they lack the way. Insofar as lacking the will is concerned, they have been in office for the past 9 years, almost 10 years, and they have not solved the problem. We called them out earlier this year on the issue of the reverse osmosis plant at crabs, a plant that was commissioned, and at the time when we were in office and when it was handed over to the Labour Party, a plant that was producing more than 4 million gallons a day. After a few years under the Labour Party, this plant was producing 2 million gallons a day. In other words, there was a 50% reduction in output at the crabs plant. Now, had they the will, they would have seen that this is something that needed to be addressed, but they didn't care. And so they sat on their hands, they allowed the water situation to deteriorate, and they have been trying in the last 8 weeks to do what they should have done in the last 8 years. So they didn't have the will. They thought that they could get away with it. They don't have the way, because when we look in terms of what they're doing, the plan that is necessary is yet to be forthcoming. We cannot be approaching the water problem in Antigua, which is a very serious problem, a problem that has plagued us for a long time. And if you're serious about solving this water problem, there must be a plan. We call on this government to show us the plan. What is the plan going forward for providing a solution to our water problem in a sustainable long-term way? There is no plan, so they don't have the way. In terms of what ought to be done and who ought to do it, similarly, they have no answers as far as that is concerned. And that's why I say the reason for their failure is twofold. They don't have the will and they lack the way.
And we see that with elections, every time we're wondering when it will be called. What is the stance on the UPP? fixed election dates. And not only this, but also an age cap on ministers who are running for election, as we have a very high number of much older candidates.
On the first question, we support fixed date elections for several reasons. Fixed date elections allows the country to plan its way forward. When you don't have fixed day elections, the country must always be in election mode because we never know when the election is going to be called. That is not good for the social capital that we try to build in our nation, building cohesiveness in our country, making sure that there's a time to campaign and there's a time for us to work together as a nation. We feel are very important in order to provide certainty. We also believe that it is inherently unfair, even if we had the advantage and we could utilize it, but it must be inherently unfair when you can simply pull a date out of the hat of your opponent. So the answer to your
We do have a large number of candidates running who are of a higher age group.
age limit, no, I would not support that, because if we believe in democracy, then people should be allowed to choose the person that they believe is best to represent them. And therefore, for the law to say, after you reach age 70 or 80 or whatever, in the United States, there's a congressman today, I think he celebrated either his 90th or 92nd birthday. There is the leader of another country at the moment who's 92 years old. I make no comment as far as these are concerned. I simply say that if the choice of the people prevail.
And now recently, we have seen the return of Bruce Goodwin to the UPP, as well as the potential return of Gatesworth James. Will the UPP welcome Malika Parker and Kelton Dalso, or any other DNA members that resign and wish to join the UPP?
The UPP is an organization that believes in pulling the talents of our people together for the benefit of the nation. Mr. Bruce Goodwin is somebody that has already been welcomed into the fold of the United Progressive Party. He applied to the All Saints Eastern St. Luke branch. They accepted him. They made the recommendation to the Central Executive, and he was unanimously accepted by the Central Executive. So he's now a member of the party, and we believe that his presence constitutes a valuable asset for the party and the nation. With regard to Mr. Gatesworth James, equally, he's somebody we believe can add tremendous value to the party and to the nation, and therefore his application, when it is received, will be treated in a way that, provided he is willing to become a member of the party, we would be happy to welcome him into our fold. You asked about Malika Parker. She has not yet indicated an interest in rejoining the party, but should she indicate such an interest, similarly, we'd be happy to have her. And also Kelton Dalso, if he decides that UPP is an open party, and we'd be happy to have them. Anybody who's a member of the United Progressive Party, the only thing that they're required to do is abide by the rules and the constitution of the party. And apart from that, we believe that bringing people into the party strengthens the party rather than weakens it.
We have another question on the social media board. You have introduced a number of social measures. What time frame are you asking the Antigua Labour Party to put these measures in effect to bring relief to the people of Antigua and Barbuda?
Each of these, we say, should be immediately implemented. We have not put anything on the table that requires any length of time for consideration or implementation. With regard to the customs duties, that can be done in a matter of 3 or 4 hours. It simply requires that a regulation be published with the Comptroller of Customs being fully on board with what is taking place. As far as the payments to the public servants are concerned, or at least the back pay, that is something that can be done immediately. The other issues, the water question, where we say we would waive all taxes on equipment used to provide water storage, that too can be implemented immediately. So everything that we have said can be implemented immediately, and that's what we're calling for.
Now, we've seen small business clubs across the island, and you recently had your last one within the constitutions in Antigua and Barbuda. But Barbuda has been one of the islands that, one of the constituencies that has not received their small business pull-up. Is there any intention to have one over there?
Well, we will speak with our friends in the BPM, and nothing is ruled out. We could very well go over to Barbuda. We have no immediate plan, but we'd love to go over to Barbuda, and we would be happy to collaborate with the BPM to have a Barbuda pull-up. So that's certainly something that's on the cards if the BPM would desire it.
We have another question from the social media. In relation to cryptocurrency, what is the UPP's position?
Well, cryptocurrency is like technology. Technology can be used for good purposes, it can be used for bad purposes. There is no, as far as I know, inherently bad technology. It's the use to which the technology is put. So cryptocurrency is a new development. It's making waves all over the world. There are issues, of course, and we've recently heard about the problems regarding Mr. Bankman, but that doesn't mean that it invalidates cryptocurrency. It simply means that one of the cryptocurrency practitioners was running what appears to be a Ponzi scheme, and in any country, Ponzi schemes run afoul of the law.
Liat and other companies have had their employees struggle with receiving their severance pays after these companies close their doors. This is often attributed to a lack of adequate legislation. What will be done to rectify these legislative shortcomings should the UPP win?
Well, this is a problem that must be addressed in a holistic manner. And we are on record as saying that we will feature as part of our administration, and we will focus on the development of a tripartite body. Some people call it a social partnership. And that means an ongoing partnership between the business community, the trade unions, and the government. In Barbados, that's the model that we would wish to aspire to replicate in our circumstances and our conditions, and for what would suit our needs. But in Barbados, there's a standing commission whereby the unions, the government, and the business community meet regularly to iron out problems of this nature. This is a very serious problem that affects not only the workers, but it also affects those people who are in business and who go out of business and find themselves unable to meet the necessary severance payments. So there must be some mechanism that's put in place to protect the workers. What we would do is discuss it with unions and the employers, but ultimately what we'll be aiming for is to introduce, whether it be called a levy or whether it be called a charge or whatever it's called, once everybody's on board and recognizes that this is for the benefit of the workers of Antigua and Barbuda, we believe that this is something we'll be able to achieve, but it would be achieved by discussion, consultation, and negotiation.
One final question on the social media board. Is the UPP ready for governance of the country given the many challenges that we are facing?
The UPP is ready for governance of the country. We were ready in 2004, just as we're ready now. Whenever a government takes over from another government, there's nothing to say that it's going to be a bed of roses. What you accept is a challenge to change what is, which is why you would have campaigned against the existing regime, and a challenge that you are saying to the nation that you can do a better job. We are satisfied that with the programs that we've put out, with our analysis of the problems as they currently exist, that the UPP is more than adequately prepared to face these challenges. And I can say not only to face the challenges and to govern, but to do a much better job than what is being done presently.
Recently, the PM would have threatened to take legal action to force the removal of remaining residents of Buyali. Some have stated that their reason for refusing to remove is due to not having adequate support for the verbal promises that were made regarding their relocation, as well as them being able to return to Buyali after the redevelopment. What is the stance of the UPP on this matter?
The UPP's stance on this matter is that this problem was approached in the wrong way from the very beginning. And things that tend to start wrong, they inevitably have a bad ending. This should never have been a confrontational issue. It was important and necessary for the Prime Minister from the outset to have given the residents of Bubi Ali the assurance that they would have acquired equity in the right to return to that location and to occupy that location in some form. We believe there are many opportunities, there are many possible permutations that could be used. It could be a mixed-use condominium style development where the existing tenants and occupants would be among those who would have a right to live in that area. It could be exclusively for those who were there previously. But the bottom line is there must be a recognition of some equity by the tenants and occupants in the area, and they cannot simply be treated as excess. They cannot simply be treated as unnecessary obstacles to progress. They must be treated as human beings who have lived there for many years, who have a right to expect that they will be allowed to continue living there. And if there's any improvement in those conditions, they should be the beneficiaries of that improvement. I think it's also important to state that we're not absolutely clear what the terms of the Chinese grant or loan is. That the Chinese, we know, made a donation of some sort for the Bubi Ali development. If these funds were for the benefit of the residents of Bubi Ali, then they ought to benefit as intended. So these are questions that we would need to clarify, but in answer to your question, our approach would have been different. Our approach would have been a consultative approach and a compassionate approach, whereby we would not have seen these people mainly as obstructions, as obstacles. We would have seen them as persons who have a legitimate right and a legitimate interest in seeking to occupy that place where they have grown up, made their contribution, and lived their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Political Leader and the leader of the United Progressive Party. I want to also thank you for your forthright response, your frank and forthright response this morning as we chart the way and the issues that we're facing as a nation. I also want to thank the media for coming and asking your questions. And finally, I want to thank the people of Antigua and Barbuda for this opportunity to speak with you and to speak to you on the issues and plans and policies of the United Progressive Party when we take the government after the next election. Continue to have a very productive day. Good day.